Hello everybody, how y'all doing? What I'm doing today is we're boxing in the rest of this 46 Willys flat fender frame that I've been sandblasting, grinding. The weather turned bad on me, so I had to come indoors, and I'm not sandblasting in here, it's way too dusty. And so here's my metal plates. Here's the list of tools that I use to clean the frame up even further. Here's a little 3-inch, 2-and-something grinder. Air works good for getting in the real tight, small places. And then I got this strip wheel here. Looks like a black sponge, but it's really good for getting down into rust pits. And then we got the old faithful wire brush, which has done a lot of the work because it really can get down into the cracks and crevices. We went through a few of them in this project, as I got most of the back section sandblasted and then the front, but then I went back over the sandblasted area anyways, just to get any loose dust off of it, basically. And then I had a lot of use with the little electric wire brush on here as well. And I used a cut-off wheel to cut the metal in half and to do a couple other little trims on the frame. Number one tool, your safety glasses. And then I had this wire brush. It's nice to get down into corners, and there's a lot of rivets on this car frame truck, so that worked good around the rivets. If you had even tighter areas, I use this little Dremel tool on an air grinder. It has a nice carbide bit on it. It would eat right through the metal. A lot of people use these to clean up bolt holes and do a little machining like that, but it will take off rust too. We used a vice grip multiple different times, doing stuff. Scrape the heavy grease and stuff off with this. And we had to use Sky's tool about the most. I use Sky. This is Sky's tool. If you don't know who Sky is, you better go watch some of my old videos, because those are the good ones when Sky was in with me. So this is her tool now. We got to use that. Here's a little center punch that I use to drill some bolts out. And everybody knows what drill bits are in a drill. But if you want to center punch them and drill them out, that's what I use. And a hammer, just because it's fun to hit shit sometimes. And good old tape measure. You know one thing about a tape measure? It won't ever lie to you unless you read it wrong. But yeah, then we're going to use this nice clamp here to get over the frame. It's not a vice grip brand. I wish it was, because I like those better. The vice grip ones, you can always have a little tension on them, squeezing them, trying to tighten it down, and be able to turn the knob. And like these are natural vice grip ones, but I don't have too many of these big C-clamps vice grips like that. And then we're going to just use the old-fashioned C-clamps as well to hold the welder's hand. That's what I call them, to hold the metal on there for me welding it. And then we got a nice, large 8-inch or 7-inch grinder here. And I think these papers are like, they say 24 grit, 80 grit. Something like that. They're aggressive. So what we're going to do is we're going to prep the metal to be welded onto there. And so what we did already, I'll bring it up close to you so you can see, we squared up, we took off the square edge. You can see the corner is cut off, see? So, that shiny area, we're going to go up against the frame like that. And what that will do is I bead that. I took a little corner off that, and I'm taking the corner off this on top and bottom. And that will make it so you got somewhere to weld. And this frame, they strapped the top of it originally, so there's actually 2 pieces of metal, and it's spot welded together all on here. So I had to really cut it back, so I'm welding to the metal underneath it, the frame underneath it, and the added piece they put on there originally. So turn your volume down. And just that, cutting it back a little bit. That'll guarantee my weld will have plenty of metal still to weld to. And I'm going to get all 3 pieces of metal. This is what I'm trying to let you guys understand is I'm welding 3 pieces of metal because I got 1, 2, and then I'm plating it with the 3rd. So I gotta get it, prep the metal so it will make contact on everything. And what I used underneath here, it's not weldable primer. I wish I could afford that shit. But I just used some engine primer. And that's why I cleaned the metal, because it's not weldable primer. But it will withstand some heat. So it might stay on there a little better as I'm welding. And I just try not to burn it all on in one swoop. I'll put it on a little spot weld here and there at a time, because I don't want to warp what I'm working with. I'll leave a little back there to weld to. Don't push on the frame too hard. This is where it helps to have a helping hand sometimes. And I don't have 4 hands. But I'll do it. have it in the right location. And then, of course, I loosen that thing. Come on. I got part of this little bit of frame sticking out here. It's not like letting me go level smooth with it. So we're going to get our frame. Massage that metal into place. And now she fits a little smoother. Still could be bumped back a little more. 1940s, whatever, they put this frame together. This is a 1940s Willys Jeep, but this frame could have been built before that, left over from the military. But, so they were just put together real quickly. And all the pieces aren't quite lined up straight, so we got to massage them. So we got it lined up. Now we'll put a couple extra clamps on here. Ever seen anybody do it like that? That's how I wind. That's how I wind them. Sit here and twirl the little thing for 10 minutes, fucking messing around with it like that. Huh. I don't think I want to sit up there. I guess we're trimming that little corner for a sec. I mean, you can sit here and do it like this with your fingers. It's better. It's funner to go like that. When you go the right way. So now I've got it clamped all down exactly where I want it. There's a spot that I saw that I want to trim. So I'll trim that really quickly. Make sure you wear your safety glasses. I'll tell you what, they're a lot cheaper than going to the hospital to get somebody to get something out of your eye. You don't want the doctor to take a dentist grinder and be like, here, let me take a dentist tool. I know I don't use them very often, but I'll be steady with it. Open your eye and don't shut it. Because if you shut your eyeball and I'm grinding on it with this dentist tool, it'll take your eyelid and tear it up into shreds. It'll make confetti out of your eyelid. Got our trimmed in place. Thanks for being patient. If you're still watching, if you're not watching, then I guess you won't see how to plate the frame on the inside of a Jeep. And Jeeps need to have plated frames. Unless you got a newer one that is box, because they did finally get smart. They got hit to their program, and they started boxing their own frames in all the way. And now we're going to start welding. You make sure you got your safety protection here. I got a welding helmet. Even though you might be just doing a few little spot welds like I'll be doing right now. You wear your welding helmet. These are gloves, leather gloves made for welding. I don't like the ones that are so thick you can't feel a hot thing until the glove is boiling hot and burning your finger on the inside like an oven. So I use these ones so you can feel if it's getting a little too hot. And you can feel stuff with these. Some welding gloves are so thick you can't feel a thing. You can't feel if you're touching the welding button and welding anything. I'd like to just see if I can stretch open, baby. Stretch open. Get the welding ground on there. And you set your welder. This is a Miller welder. Inside here is the instructions. But I'm pretty used to it. And I can just kind of listen to what's going on. And I'll show you how to weld that way too. Got your welding gas on. You guys, I forgot. Almost forgot. You guys got to have your eye protection on too. This isn't messing around. No messing around with this stuff. So wear your eye protection. Here you go. I'll help you put them on. There you go. All right. Everybody's safe in my shop. That's all I got to say. Okay. Now we're going to put some spot welds on here. Top and bottom. We'll weld upside down a little bit. That'll get the job done. So we're going to go right, smack that in the center. If you listen to that, kind of sound okay. I didn't really like how it was looking. So we'll pop the heat up some. Turn the heat up on it a little bit. You might want to slow the wire down. We'll just try it. We'll slow the wire down. It does the same thing. You either turn the heat up on the welder or you slow the wire down. It's kind of a preference. If you're trying to lay a big fat weld, maybe you turn the heat up. Leave the wire speed alone. If you want your weld nicer looking and it's smaller area, then turn your wire down. And when you turn your wire down, the heat is technically you're higher in the heat. Because you're using less wire, the welder's having to melt less wire. So in turn, it makes it a hotter weld. Or you could turn up the heat and leave the wire alone. That would make a hotter weld as well. Welding to this old metal is not very good. They built it out of cheap steel. Let's crank the thing up. Let's see what happens if we go hotter, a little higher welding speed, and harder. Let me do a little shop cleanup for a second. I know you don't want to see someone sweeping the floor, but somebody got to do it. And if you look, see all that metal? You know what that metal will do if you leave it on the floor and you're welding? It puts down a nice metal surface that you're sitting on, for one. Short yourself out. Short yourself out that way. Especially if you got a metal table. Basically, I'm welding on a metal frame. And it's sitting on metal jack stands. And I got a big pile of metal on the floor. I can already see over here on the floor that when this wire is laying on top of what welding dust or grinding dust, it actually turns that stuff into miniature magnets. It magnetizes it underneath if it's laying on top of that dust. It magnifies it. Turns the dust into little magnets, and then they'll start hooking together and sitting in little straight lines, and those things will be like trying to poke into your skin because of the way they're laying on the floor, because they turned into magnets. Now I can lay down. I'll keep my coat clear. I'll get my creeper out here. Got a creeper. Might as well use it. Oh, there it is. This is the only time you'll catch me laying down on the job. If you ever catch me laying down on the job, I'm working down here. Circle. Got the welder turned up way too hot for down there. When you're upside down welding, you don't want it turned up very high because it just melts and blows down on you. I don't know if any of you guys have ever, some of you people, before I welded on some old metal that you're just like wondering, where in the heck did they get this stuff from? Because my gosh, it's welding so great. Not this metal. I mean, it looks like I'm using a stick welder. I'm getting low on the juice. It's still coming out. Just doesn't like weld. Here, how it's welding. I weld on this metal and it sounds halfway decent. You go over on that other metal and it sounds like it starts spitting. Spittered and sputting. So that's what you don't want to listen to, is you want it to sound like you're cooking bacon, and it just sounds like a straight sizzle. And if you listen, I know you guys can't see it, but when I go over here on the frame, not sounding good. Let's see what happened to the welder. And don't do what I was just doing. Sitting on your project thinking you're going to weld them. I'm just spot welding it on for now because it's frustrating me because it's not welding good. I got to turn it over anyways to weld the bottom because how it's welding is not welding good. Try extreme heat. Extreme heat actually worked pretty good. So what that's telling me that, I got it turned up really high. And I got the wire turned down really low. So what that's telling me that this frame is some kind of hardened metal or something like that. Still is welding all, it's throwing slag everywhere on stuff. I'll be grinding it down again. Grinding the flame down again. But well, guys, if you guys like what I do and you want to check it out more, hit that thumbs up on the bottom there. Give my channel a little follow. We need to make this thing grow. Come on. Subs come through. And I got a lot of cool stuff to show people. I mean, look at this hot rod behind me here. Let me get those safety goggles off you. You need to take those off so you can see stuff around the garage. But yeah, so we're restoring this 46 Willys flat fender frame. And we're working on this hot rod. So if you want to see this hot rod turn this garage into a smoking ball of fire, smoke, check out my channel. We got fun content, fun educational content here. So I'm going to get to welding on this because it's going to be a long one. And I got the other side to put on still. You guys don't want to watch hours of welding. And I got to turn the frame over so I can get to the bottom a little easier. I got it spot welded on in a few spots. Then you flip the frame over and you do the rest. I'll probably show another video of the other side. The finish. I'll show you the finish.